The definitions of science and research seem to be getting looser and looser these days, and a new study from Johns Hopkins stretches those words even further. A press release published by the Bloomberg School of Public Health, which should tell you something right there, claimed to have found a link between concealed carry and officer-involved shootings. The way they put it, if you just got rid of concealed carry, as in make it illegal rather than allowing people to exercise their rights freely, we wouldn't have any more of those pesky police shootings for groups like BLM to get mad about. Except their study was sponsored and paid for by two anti-gun groups, one formerly headed by Obama himself, and used data from every town to guess in their crystal balls what a world without concealed carry might look like. Which isn't exactly objective science. But then again, I'm not a biologist.
That's some dry, emotionless science.
Keep watching for the super sciencey details. Before we get into this little tidbit of news that might as well be comedy hour, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, SiteMark. SiteMark was founded in 2007 in order to provide folks with durable, functional, and accurate sites for AR platforms. They provide industry-leading scopes, red dots, night vision sights, and bore sights to help you get the most out of your shooting experience. And right now, my viewers can get 10% off their purchase at sitemark.com, including the compact, lightweight, and do-it-all Wraith 4K Mini with my code LibertyDoll. Again, 10% off with code LibertyDoll at sitemark.com. So this press release from Johns Hopkins claims that officer-involved shootings increased by 12.9% in 10 states between 2014 and 2020, and that the vital link between those states is that they had relaxed restrictions on concealed carry. How did they come to this conclusion?
Oh boy, here we go.
Well, the study, published online in the Journal of Urban Health, examined the impact of changes to state laws for civilians carrying concealed firearms and, using statistical modeling, estimated what would have happened if the laws hadn't changed. For their analysis, the researchers identified 11 states that adopted measures allowing individuals to carry concealed firearms without a permit from 2014 to 2020. The researchers removed one state from their analysis, Oklahoma, because of poor model fit. So already we know that they didn't include all the constitutional carry states because there were more than 11 even in 2020, and they flat out didn't include Oklahoma for undisclosed reasons. They literally provide no explanation other than it didn't fit their model. But they also don't explain what the model was and don't provide a link to the study either, which is generally bad form. They do include the title of the study way down at the bottom of the press release, and, well, that's interesting. The title shows it's not really a study at all, but an analysis of the gun violence archive, the very same folks who claimed there were 417 mass shootings in 2019 when the FBI recorded approximately 30. Well, that's a pretty big discrepancy, and clearly they are to be trusted. The Gun Violence Archive is also backed by Slate, which media bias sites rate as very left with emotionally loaded headlines and high variation in reliability. The Notre Dame media bias chart has Slate hovering somewhere just outside of somewhat unreliable. Though it seems that the GVA knows this, as any mention of Slate has been scrubbed from their website. Excellent purveyors of data.
Like any good junkie, I knew how to hide the evidence.
Furthermore, and this is where it gets really hairy, so try to follow along, they compared those 10 constitutional carry states to 26 states with stricter gun laws. Then they turned every constitutional carry state into a fake synthetic state. They then used the fake state to run statistics about what might happen if a real state adopted constitutional carry versus if the fake state didn't adopt constitutional carry.
Tell the truth. That's all. Just tell the truth.
It would be much simpler
but much less magical.
They then pooled this data together and estimated, yes, estimated, not found, that 4, so less than half, of the constitutional carry states had higher rates of officer-involved shootings after passing constitutional carry. The 4 states were led by Missouri, which started constitutional carry in 2017 and these days is famous for riots. Clearly, it's constitutional carry that caused all of those police shootings.
Hail science! Hail science! Hail science!
The study also notes, and sourced from Everytown for Gun Safety, that the bulk of those officer-involved shootings were civilians armed with guns, not lawfully owned guns necessarily, just that the victims were armed with guns. All in all, and this is buried in their study, not anywhere in the press release itself, the researchers estimated, using population data, that states with constitutional carry saw an average of 4 extra officer-involved shootings. So by their estimates, 4 states out of the, I believe, 16 that had constitutional carry at the time showed an extra 4 officer-involved shootings after the passage of constitutional carry, and because of that, constitutional carry bad.
Yeah, that checks out.
Therefore, according to the lead researcher, the trend of more states allowing civilians to carry concealed guns without a permit may be influencing the perceived threat of danger faced by law enforcement. This could contribute to higher rates of fatal and non-fatal officer-involved shootings, which all sounds very definite. The co-author also claims that constitutional carry doesn't take criminal history into account, which demonstrates a clear ignorance of federal law around actually buying a gun, and she also says that constitutional carry allows risky individuals to carry, because after all, those risky individuals with criminal histories follow the letter of the law in the states that do require permits. Science! The press release goes on to mention that while they only studied 10 states, there are 25 that currently allow permitless carry, and interestingly enough, there's no actual systemic data collection for officer-involved shootings, which is why they had to use the Gun Violence Archive, which gets the bulk of their numbers from media, police blotters, and, according to their executive director, Twitter. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, this study with already cherry-picked data decided to use Twitter as one of their sources.
Hail science!
And the funny thing is, the executive director, Mark Bryant, claims that he and the Gun Violence Archive are completely unbiased, despite writing columns with titles like "Stronger Gun Laws Would Save Lives," lobbying against 30-round magazines, which he claims aren't covered in the Second Amendment, and speaking out against the NRA. Finally, a good rule of thumb when examining any research study is also examining the money behind it. I mentioned in the intro that it was sponsored by 2 anti-gun groups, that is the New Venture Fund and the Joyce Foundation. For starters, the Joyce Foundation also funds the Gun Violence Archive, so that's a cute little financial and ethical circle jerk. One of the foundation's stated goals is to reduce gun deaths by reducing access to guns, and they've funded over 100 grants for gun control measures since 1993. In fact, one Chicago outlet called the foundation the anti-NRA. As for the New Venture Fund, they're a nonprofit focusing on race, equity, and diversity through doling out grants to progressive left nonprofits. According to the New York Times, the New Venture Fund is actually nothing more than a dark money organization that's used by left-leaning foundations and donors to anonymously funnel money into political causes. It's also associated with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Some of the fund's pet projects have included abortion access, free birth control, climate change, and illegally funding elections in Louisiana, and the 2018 midterms, and the creation of fake news pages that were used to influence the 2020 election. Science? So we have a couple of biased groups funding a biased study that used biased sources funded by one of those biased groups that someone, somewhere is likely to point to as proof that we need more gun laws. In the end, it sounds about right for political science. That's it for today's video. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're new here. Drop a comment for the algorithm that rules us. And if you liked this video and want to support the channel in other ways, I have Patreon, Subscribestar, and a tip jar down in the description. As always, thanks for tuning in, stay safe, and happy shooting.